Hello everyone, Neve here, and we are back for another installment of the Venus in Transit. And this episode is about Venus in Aquarius. So I'm sorry if the lighting is a little weird. I'm actually right in the direct sunlight. I'm right in front of a window and the sun is like right there. It's nice and bright, but maybe a little too bright. I'm not sure. Anyway, this episode is going to be slightly different than the previous two in that I'm not actually using the spreads from what was it? It was New Age Hipster was what I was using for the previous two, and that is because Pure Red Velvet, the person who started this, BB, she actually just did her Venus in Aquarius video, which of course I watched and I was like, oh yes. And she actually found Venus in blank specific spreads. And I had the hardest time trying to find spreads like that. So I just went ahead and used New Age Hipsters spreads that were just general like Sagittarius spreads and Capricorn spreads, and just kind of read using those in the context of Venus in that sign. But she, BB actually found another, so thanks again. Thanks for creating this tag and thanks for finding spreads for this. But yeah, so this was by, hold on, just a second, I can't remember the name. Moon Mama Oracle. So Moon Mama Oracle actually has a series of Venus in blank spreads. So we're going to use that. I did not print off a little thing for that yet. In fact, I haven't even decorated my my page yet. Because this is my spiritual journal, and I'm starting this video having not really prepared. And I wrote right here in pencil, Venus in Aquarius, so I will decorate this, and maybe I'll have this decorated by the time I get this up. I'm not sure. But yeah, so right now it's not decorated. It's just a blank page. This was the previous reading. I have yet to put a picture in there. This was the first quarter moon in Gemini. But yeah, anyway, so I will decorate this. The previous pages we've got, let's see, this was the Capricorn, the Venus in Capricorn spread. And then before that, let's see, we have, just trying to find it. Here we go. Here was the Venus in Sagittarius. So, I'll be doing something similar to that, and I will make it match whatever deck I end up using. And speaking of, I have a couple decks here that I'm not sure that I want to use. So I'm going to have Venus in Aquarius off over here to the side with my fourth house, because that is where Venus, that's where Venus is in my chart, is in the fourth house. So I'm going to have that there. So before I go over the decks, let me just talk about Aquarius for a second. So Aquarius is, for me, when I think of Aquarius, I think of, it's very quirky, very spiritual, philosophical, and very cerebral. I mean, it is an air sign. People think it's a water sign because it's the water bearer, but Aquarius is actually an air sign. So Aquarius to me are those things. It's kind of quirky. It's kind of obscure even. It's like Sagittarius to me is a very fun sign. It's a very fun, loving, likes to have fun sort of sign, right? And I actually have 3 Sagittarius placements in my chart. So I get Sagittarius. And then Aquarius to me is kind of like that. It's kind of got that goofiness, that silliness that that Sagittarius has, but it's a bit more on the philosophical side of things, and it's a bit more spiritual. And then once we get into Pisces, Pisces is also something that's a bit more spiritual to me. So it's kind of got that air to it. So Venus in Aquarius, Venus being, the love, emotions, and all of that. It's maybe it's really getting in touch with like the almost a logical side of the emotions and the why of am I feeling this way? Why do I have this yearning, this longing, this whatever it is? And that's how I kind of see that with Venus in Aquarius. And like it's it's more in the mind. It's like falling in love with the intelligence side of things. So I don't know. That's kind of where I think of it. It's a bit more on. It's a bit less of just feeling love, and it's kind of like pouring out the reasons, I'm trying to figure out how to kind of voice this. But Venus in Aquarius to me is a bit more of a cerebral sort of love, if that makes sense. And it's also very individualistic. Venus in Aquarius, I feel like, is sort of that, it's not so much of a we are two becomes one sort of thing, but it's like we are very much our individuals. And I enjoy pouring this water to you and you receiving that water, or vice versa, whatever. But they are two separate vessels. And Aquarius to me is very individualistic. So that is my understanding of Venus in Aquarius here. And of course, bringing in the fact that Venus is in my fourth house, and the fourth house having to do with home and family life and where we're rooted, things like that. I would associate a Venus and Aquarius in the fourth house as more about like maintaining that individuality in a home when like there's lots of people. Like there's when you're in your home, if you don't live alone, of course, there's you kind of have to keep everyone else in mind, if that makes sense. And so there is that sense of this with the Venus in Aquarius in the fourth house of just trying to maintain that individuality that Aquarius strives for. So I think there were other things that I was going to say, but my mind is going every which way here. So the decks that I want to use. So I just got this one in yesterday, and in fact I just did my my walkthrough of this deck, and that will be out. I think it's the one right after this one, but I'm not completely sure. It might be the one right after this one. But that is the Nocturna Oracle, and I'm sorry about the lighting here. It is quite bright with that. The sun being directly on everything here. But I just got the Nocturna Oracle, and I don't know, it feels a bit spiritual, it feels a bit spacey, and it feels like something that might work here with Venus in Aquarius. So I think I might do this for the Oracle card for this reading. So the tarot deck, I have two choices. First, I have the Wild Unknown Tarot, which is not a deck I normally use. In fact, neither of one of these decks are decks I normally use. And I also have the Untamed Mystery Tarot. And both of these decks just felt, I was trying to find an Aquarius deck and trying to find something that was a bit quirky, but not too goofy. I don't want to go Sagittarius with this. Something a bit quirky, but also potentially very cerebral. And I think both of these kind of fit that bill. So I'll pull out the Wild Unknown here. And I do apologize if you're hearing some noises around the house. I'm actually filming this in the middle of my house right now. And kids have come home from school. My husband is not feeling well, so he came out from work. So you might hear some people walking around, and I'm just going to keep going with my video. So yeah, so here is the Wild Unknown, and I do think that this one has a strong Aquarius vibe to it. I am feeling it with this. Now, this is not a deck I normally use. It's not a deck that I feel especially called to use frequently. The images are, and the artwork is something that I don't know exactly why, but for some reason I've just had the hardest time connecting with this deck. It is I do like the artwork a lot, but yeah, so anyway, it does give me Aquarius vibes, and also the sun card in this deck cracks me up because it looks like something that it is not what is represented. And I'm sure, oh, nope, that's not it. Where is it? Of course, I'm not going to find it. The sun card in this deck is, you know, it looks like things. Oh, here it is. I'm not going to say what it looks like, but yeah. All right. So, all right. So that is the Wild Unknown, and that is option number 1. Now, the other option is the Untamed Mystery, and this is also a quirky deck, but and also very individualistic. It's very interesting. It's got a lot of the shininess on here, like there's a lot of spot glass on this, and it is very strange. But there is a depth to this deck that is surprising, and I do want to use this one, but truth be told, I am leaning towards the Wild Unknown, but it does feel like a very Aquarius type of deck to me. I don't know, maybe if the colors were slightly different, I would be more inclined to use this one, but I think I've pretty much decided that I'm going to use the Wild Unknown. So that's what we're going to use for this reading here. And we're going to put this back and set this to the side. And all right, so I'm going to go ahead and light my candle here. I'm going to move this camera up a little bit so we can see the candle. And okay, lighting this candle here. I am right in front of it, like the sun is like beaming down on this, which that is fine. I am okay with that. All right, so I'm going to put this up over to the side here. All right, and I'll move the camera down a bit. Okay, so before I really get this going, I want to grab the Oracle deck here, and this is brand new. I just got this deck yesterday, so I am going to use the book for this, and because especially since these cards only have one keyword on them, and they don't really have any other types of keywords that give an idea of what the card should mean, so I will be using the book for this one. All right, so I'm going to take a few deep breaths and think about Venus in Aquarius, the spiritual elements of Aquarius, and how that translates for a sort of, not love, but and not even really relationships, but like how we relate. And I think that's kind of how I see Venus, is how we relate. It's our relationships with ourselves, our relationships with others. So, you know, a lot of people associate Venus specifically with love readings or things like that, but I think it's more about the relationships with ourselves and other people in general. Yeah, so that is Venus energy for me here, and of course the Aquarius energy being very cerebral and philosophical, very spiritual, kind of quirky, that sort of energy here. And finally, with my 4th house energy of rooted in the home, where my roots lie, things like that. All right, so deep breath. All right, we have manta ray. Very interesting. Okay, so let's put this to the side and get this book and see what this says about for manta ray. All right, see the card here. All right, so unfortunately with this book, it is not in alphabetical order and there are no numbers, so I do have to kind of, oh, here it is. Okay, so grace and calmness, that's nice. That's a nice keyword for this. And you know, we're thinking about the home because of the 4th house, and Venus in Aquarius, that sort of individualistic, cerebral sort of approach to relationships, things like that. So despite being the world's largest ray, with a wingspan of up to 9 meters, the manta ray glides effortlessly through the water with grace and confidence. While manta rays will stay in the shallow waters for feeding and mating, they can dive as deep as 450 meters. As with the depths of the ocean, the manta ray reminds us to explore the depths of our emotions with calmness and composure. So, yeah, so taking a very calm approach there. Okay, so that is nice. So I will put up on the screen, in fact, I'm going to move my candle off a little bit to the side so that the shadow is not casting too much of a line here. I'm going to put up on the screen the spread that I'm using. Now, this is a very specific Venus in Aquarius spread by moonmamaoracle. I think that was the name. And I don't have it in front of me, so I'm going to have to pause it for a second to look at the positions real quick. Okay, I real quickly wrote down the readings so that I don't have to keep turning around and looking at my laptop. So here's the reading, and I will occasionally put the picture of it up on the screen. So I'm going to go through and I'm going to start shuffling this deck and really thinking about Venus in Aquarius and how that might affect me, especially in the 4th house here. And the reading that I do here is not necessarily, I mean, it is specific to me, but I don't want to, like it. You shouldn't feel precluded from the reading. Like, if it resonates with you, then definitely think about what it says and how that might relate to you. Yeah, so it's for me, but it's also, you know, potentially for the collective. It's a reading that I'm sharing, and yeah. All right, so Venus in Aquarius, where Venus currently is in Aquarius. All right. So a card to represent my energy as I enter this transit. I'm going to go here. All right. So, ooh, that's a rough one. All right. So it is a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right, so that's actually a bit of a tough one. You know, a lot of times people think of the 3 of, just trying to put the cards to the side here, the 3 of Swords as being like the heartbreak card and, you know, the broken heart card, things like that. And yeah, that does make sense. But, you know, swords are a suit of the mind, and in Aquarius also being an air sign, and a sign that really resonates with the mind. I think of, and in fact, this is actually a pretty good representation of it. It's kind of the 3 of Swords is a conflict between the heart and the mind, and yeah, so it feels tangled up, like thoughts not being really put together, if that makes sense. And yeah, that does make sense for me. So I won't dwell on that too long there, and we'll move on to the next reading, or next card position. So yeah, so that was like a card to represent the energy as I enter this transit. And without going into too much detail, yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. So a sort of conflict of the mind, of tangled thoughts, things like that. All right, so How do I view, now this is a bit more on the romance side of things, but I'm going to say in relationships in general, because not every single one of these Venus readings are going to be like about that. So how do I view like my interactions with others, my relationships with others, and combining that with my own sense of freedom and self. And because that is a lot of that Aquarius energy, is that sense of self, that individuality. And with Venus in Aquarius, we're trying to find a way to meld that desire for togetherness with our own desires for individuality. And so there we go. So so how do I view relationships and freedom together? All right, let's go with this card here. And I have these upside down. All right, so that is the Four of Wands, which is actually, that makes sense to me. So Four of Wands is, it is a card of stability, and it's the Four of Wands is, I kind of call it the wedding card. It can also be like the family reunion sort of card, and it is a strong sense of just the stability of good relationships, of working well together, of being together. So I think when it comes to this, so I'm starting off coming into this with a sort of jumbled emotional state, or jumbled state of logic, jumbled thoughts, and a conflict of thoughts and feelings and things like that. And but what's how do I view that? How do I view the relationships with freedom, and how do I view that together? Well, I think personally, I get a bit more, I feel more at home when I feel secure, and that makes a lot of sense to me. So yeah, so that sense of security, safety, and stability, and so I think that's a good one there. All right, how do I view relationships and things like that with uniqueness? And it's funny because I actually find this a little bit similar to this question. So it is pretty similar to that question, but it's focusing a bit more on uniqueness. So I think I feel the most free when I do have that sense of security, that sense of stability. So but where does uniqueness come into that? And let's go with this card, and we have the Father of Swords. So I think that is the King of Swords. Okay, that's interesting. So the King of Swords, or in this case it's the Father of Swords, is it's a card, it's a position or a person, and I'm trying to find the right word. It's a aspect or personality. I think personality was what I was trying to look for there. It's a personality of fairness, and it's very analytical. So I don't know. I think how do I view the relationships with uniqueness? And yeah, I feel like I feel more unique and more, that when we can share our ideas together, and we can talk about things and talk things out, and come from different perspectives, but still sort of discuss that and be a bit less emotional about it and more analytical about it, which all of this makes a lot of sense with Aquarius here. Yeah, that it really does fit with that. So what does my perspective on these topics say about me? So let's see, coming into this with some jumbled thoughts, feeling the most free when I feel like there's a sense of security and something stable to land on, and feeling the most uniqueness when we can talk about those differences in a very analytical and fair sort of way. And so what does that say about me? What does that say about me? And let's go with this, and we have the Five of Cups. So Five of Cups, like a lot of people don't, let me move this up a little bit so we get this in the frame. All right, so Five of Cups, a lot of people don't like this card. And because it is it can often represent loss and a bit of sadness or dwelling on things. But I actually kind of like the Five of Cups because I think of it as focusing on what really matters and focusing on what's still there. Instead of dwelling on what has lost, we're focusing on what is there and really putting our all into what we have. And that's kind of what I think about when I think of the Five of Cups. So so what did these cards say about me is I think that sometimes I can dwell on things that are that I should put in the past and should not dwell on too much. But like I think I really focus on the things that matter the most to me, and which I really see here with the Four of Wands, that sense of stability and a firm foundation, and when I can get out of my head, with stuff like this, I can really focus on the things that matter. So I would say that that's my interpretation there. How can I expand these views this season? So how can I expand these views this Venus in Aquarius season? Oh, the moon. Okay. So I could take this very literally and really say that to pay attention to my moon readings. So that's how I would take this, reading it more on the literal sense. Honing in on those moon readings that I do 4 a month, and really paying attention to those. So that is reading that literally. But for the meaning of the moon itself, I think I like, how can I expand on these views is sort of embracing the mystery. Here with the Father of Swords, it is a very analytical thing, and it's a card that really brings reason to a situation, reason and things like that. Whereas the moon, I think, is letting me know that sometimes I just got to let things be a mystery and to embrace that. And to embrace the unknown. And that's kind of how I would read that. So the final card, Venus in Aquarius, advice from my guides. And before I pull this card, I'm just gonna breathe a little bit because I am connecting with my guides for this one. And since I'm doing this on the cloth that I use for bridge, and this month I am, like most of my readings are with bridge, I am going to keep her in mind for this. So Venus in Aquarius advice for my gods, for my guides, my gods, my ancestors, things like that, but more specifically from bridge. I go with this one. All right, so we have the is this the 6? Yes, the 6 of Pentacles. All right, so this is a sort of a give and take. Like, I'm going to receive what I give here, and I think that's a lot of what's and which makes sense coming from Breach and the readings I've had with her this month. That sense of putting in the effort, putting in things like that, and I'm going to receive that which I give, and so that that makes sense for me. And yeah, I don't think I'm going to take the advice on this and not dwell too much on these, but I think that's what I'm getting here. So to wrap this up, coming into this, first we've got the sense of calm and calm energy, but coming in with some jumbled thoughts, jumbled feelings, jumbled heart and mind, sort of not being in sync so much, which makes sense for me. But really having that, feeling the most free, and when I have a sense of security and stability, and things like that. Feeling the most unique when we can really, with relationships in general, but being able to talk things out and to see things for what they are instead of getting caught up in emotions. What does that say about me is a sense that I can dwell a bit too much, but really at the end of the day, I focus on what matters the most. Going into this season with a sense of embracing the mystery. And we can't know everything, and we can't know where everything is going to go. And and just sort of embracing that, embracing the mystery, embracing the unknown. And finally, the message from my guide, and I'm specifically thinking Bridge here, or Bridget. So a sense of give and take. And I'm going to, the energy that I'm going to give out here is the energy I'm going to receive here, and that is the Six of Pentacles. So all right, so that is it. That is Venus in Aquarius. Thank you so much for watching, everyone, and I will see you next time. Bye.